Super cool radio.
Hello, everyone. I am Matthew Thomas. This is Super Cool Radio. Got a great guest with me at this time. Originally born in Albania, currently living in Boston. Recently released her debut EP entitled Dark Matter. Please welcome Merlin.
Hello.
Thank you so much for hanging out with me here on Super Cool Radio. I don't interview too many pop musicians, so it's nice to change up a little bit and chat with you today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on. I'm so excited. A little nervous, but more excited.
No, don't be nervous. Don't be nervous. It's all in fun. Not like we got a huge game show coming up that I just discussed in about 2 minutes ago.
No high bar or anything.
So I know most of the country got hit with a huge snowstorm. I live in Indiana in the Midwest, and we got buried in snow last night. So how are you doing in Boston?
Well, we got a huge snowstorm last weekend, and we're still feeling it. Recovering, getting our parking spots back. That's always fun. Do you know what we do around here? It's like you have to get like a chair or a bucket or something, and then just like save your spot. Which is like, it's nice to have your spot saved, but also like poor anyone else who tries to park in your area the whole day. Just go around and around trying to find parking. But what can you do?
Chicago does that same thing too. I've driven around in the wintertime in Chicago, and there's like chairs, and like I saw one person had a grill. It's like any random stuff. Even though I would use the grill, I'd be cooking in the street, but that's just me.
That's maybe it was like he got a new one, and he's like, you know what, something that somebody might take, might not take. We'll see. What about you guys? Are you guys okay? You guys, because you said you got hit last night. That's pretty recent.
We got about 10 inches from. Pretty much from this morning to like late last night. There's about 10 inches of snow, so it's fun. I haven't left the house, so I'm okay.
I don't blame you. I wouldn't have either. I tried not to.
The one thing I hate is I don't have a garage for my car, so like I always have to dust it off of snow. And it's like I want a garage because it sucks. It sucks having to dust your car off like every time you want to use it.
That's so true. And if you don't have a starter too, and you have to like go outside and like, I go out and like, I have designated flip-flops so I can like run outside and then run back in until it gets warm. So I'm not going to stay in there.
Designated flip-flops. That's solid. Yeah, remote starts helped. I drive an 03 and I don't have a garage, so I don't have anything.
Oh, you know what? Maybe the flip-flops now. Maybe that'll be a decent tip.
I'll get designated flip-flops instead.
There you go.
We're off to a fun start. This is gonna be fun. I can already feel.
Yeah, it's a good vibe.
So obviously, I'm chatting with Merlin here. And now I did see. I was reading up on your bio. Do people actually ask if that's your real name?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Constantly. To be fair, I used to use a pseudonym for my last name on Facebook, and I convinced like my whole, like about 70% of my graduating class that was my real last name. So one time I'm in class and I'm talking to one of my best friends, and you know, she's like, how do you spell your last name? And I'm spelling it out for her, and somebody like from the front of the class turns around. They're like, wait a minute, that's not your real last name. And I'm like, like, so it's something I get constantly. I just confuse people all over the place. Plus, you know, like first day of school when the teachers would call out, they'd be like looking around for a boy, and it'd just be like little me. It's like, I'm a female. Thank you very much. I still get mail. It's like Mr. Merlin, and I'm like, thank you, appreciate it.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, like I never really met anyone named Merlin, so I thought it was like gender neutral anyway with what I was thinking. But I guess like with the TV show Merlin, I guess that was a dude, so I guess that's what kind of people assume. But I never really thought that until we started talking about it.
That, and then like of course, but the substitute teachers were my favorite. They the first thing that they would do is like, oh, like the magician. So then I just started doing this like weird little hand thing now. I'm like, yeah, Merlin like the wizard is my wand. Yeah, here you go. I know, whole joke. We got it. Just beat everyone to the chase, and then we can really start to converse.
Yeah, you already knew ahead of time, like, yeah, this is what we're going with, aren't we?
Yep. Like, okay, we got it.
Oh, I just had to talk about it because I saw that in your bios, because like the first line I was reading in your bio was like, yes, this is my real name. So
yeah, I like have to get it out of the way because and not only that, but then I've gotten like variations of my name, like Maryland, Marilyn, and then like someone just called me like Mary, and I'm like, where? There are so many letters missing. Are you even trying? But it is what it is.
There's not even an A in that. Come on.
That's what I'm saying. But I've gotten to the point where I appreciate it for what it was. It's fine.
Yeah. I can with that stuff. Yeah. But so obviously, I was reading up on you, as I said, with the bio joke that I started with. So you born in Albania, you lived in Germany, and then you moved to America, Boston, when you were 7 years old. So what was like your exposure to music in Albania and Germany?
So, well, first of all, where I was born and the culture that I was raised in, music's the whole thing, like you should see us at weddings. You've got the uncle leading like a whole line of people dancing. It's kind of crazy. And, music's a big part of my culture. But because we, moved to Germany and then, moved to the States, my parents took very good care of the things that they had. They kept very few things, and what they did keep was very important to them. And some of the only things that they took with them, besides, clothing and maybe photos, would be their CDs. I swear they were kept in like mint condition. I could like never open them or touch them. They're still unwrapped. I'm like, these, you know what? Now at this point, we're just going to save them because you never know. But I just remember some of them, like they would just like play their favorites. And then, whenever the music channel was on, it would just, and that's the thing in Europe too. The music channels, they'll play current music, and then they'll play older songs too. So it was always like a mix of different things. And then, it just kind of carried me through coming here, because there was a while that obviously I couldn't speak English in the beginning. And, I would try to like watch MTV, but my parents wouldn't let me. So I would put on the country music channel and then I'd watch like Shania Twain. And I remember like, man, I feel like a woman. And then I would just like learn like English from that. And then eventually when mom would be like, go out grocery shopping, I'm like, MTV it is. Sorry, Mom.
I was the same way growing up. Like, oh, Mom and Dad are here. Yeah, I can watch TV. In Russia, like they would learn English by listening to the Beatles. And which is kind of funny, like like listening to music and like learning language from it. So like, Paul McCartney was talking about that he met a Russian official, and the guy walks up to him and goes, "Hello, goodbye."
Perfect.
You know the words only from the Beatles song, so that's what it was.
Oh, that's so funny. It's funny because a lot of Albanians too, like that are still in Albania, they'll learn a lot of Spanish, Italian, English, of course, like from songs as well. So it's really interesting to see, like, and there obviously some people can learn languages faster, but it's always funny to think like, you catch on to a song and then you try to figure out and then it becomes this whole thing, and then you like literally end up learning something, and you never know when you'll be able to use that, which is so cool. Hello, goodbye is very useful.
Yes, it is. Or just put them together in one sentence.
Yeah. I mean, you get the whole point then.
Exactly.
Intro in and outro.
Exactly. Real quick, simple, to the point.
Yep.
All right, so for you, so how did you get started as a musician? What was kind of the steps you took to become a musician?
Well, it's been quite a journey. When I was watching Shania Twain, that was the beginning of my inspiration. And I remember I would write. I've been writing since I was like 9 years old. I used to have like booklets, and like that's the thing. Like I wouldn't like write like like some of them I would think they were full songs, not realizing how to write a song, but there would be like little poems and hooks and a couple 2-liners and everything. And there's like, it's funny because like Taylor released the 10-minute version of her song, right? That's definitely what my songs were, like 10-minute versions of just rants, like me thinking I'm writing a song. It's just like this whole thing. And I would like scribble in the like sides and everything. But it was just always something that like, I was like, I want to do this, like this is like everything to me about it made sense. But, being a first generation immigrant, being the eldest and like I have a younger brother, I have to do the right thing and make my parents happy. And, and I love them. And of course I want to make them happy. But, it took me a little bit to realize that I can only do that by truly being happy myself, which is why I'm pursuing the music and everything. But fast forward, all the teenage drama. And basically I just, I got to the point where I was auditioning for The Voice. I got all the way to New York and I ended up missing that audition. Fun. And I was like walking back, like I started to get all sad. And then I had a moment where like, I looked up and I saw it was like graffitied on the wall, like every little thing is going to be all right. And that was the line from Three Little Birds that my dad used to whistle to my mom all the time. And like, whenever she got all panicky, he'd be like, you just like whistle it and like kind of like it's all right, like everything's fine. So it was kind of like a moment of clarity. And then right then and there, like it's kind of like I saw like a fork in the road. Like you can either go home, be depressed about this, like let this turn into some big thing and maybe even fall off of everything that you want to do, or just go home and take what's the next step? What's the next thing you can do? And it was the first thing I thought of was this studio that I'd kept my eye on for a little while. So I went home. Like I went back to my hotel room, enjoyed my night in New York. And then I went home, reached out to the studio, and it just like, now I'm like, I can't even imagine if I hadn't done that. And now everything's progressed to where I've met different people and made different friends. And like the person who picked up the phone that day is like now one of my best friends. Like it's so strangely beautiful. Everything worked out. And now I'm out here releasing music.
It's really cool that like, obviously you missed an opportunity, obviously missing The Voice, but it also allowed you to, open another opportunity that you took. So it's kind of interesting, stuff like, unfortunately, everything doesn't work out the way we want it to, but then we have other opportunities that you can seize. So it's kind of funny how life works like that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And, I feel like we're taught like, if you fail too many times, you should just give up or, and it's easy to get into those ways just because sometimes you just get tired, but those failures, I'm starting to realize that they're really just kind of like redirections. Like that didn't work, but you learn something from that that's going to be used going on. And yeah, I mean, just turning my mood around in that moment was kind of like a reminder, even for, if there's a moment where I'm feeling down, it could be like, hey, remember that, and that can happen again and in ways that you can't even imagine. So, and I couldn't have imagined all this. So just, it helps to keep the faith.
Exactly. And I know when I started doing this, I had people saying that, waste my time and all this stuff when I started my podcast and stuff. And now I'm kind of happy where I am with everything. So it's just kind of funny, like, if you don't take the chances that the stuff you want to do, then you are wasting your life.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, no, I'm the perfect example for it, but it's okay because everything happens the way it's supposed to. And it helps you build a foundation so strong that no matter what happens, you can always rebuild. So.
Exactly. And honestly, the biggest takeaway I do, like from when I do this stuff and and music and everything, is that you should be having fun. It should be the stuff you want to do. Because if you're not having fun, if it's stuff you don't want to do, then there's no point in doing it. Exactly.
And it's actually turned into this thing for me where like I can kind of feel it in my body. Like if I feel like I'm dragging myself to do something, and yes, there are some things that you have to do. You know, like no one wants to go to the R&V. We all drag ourselves to the R&V. But, you know, when it feels like if I'm, you know, dragging myself to do things that, you know, like a day in, day out, then, you know, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. And that's not to say that there's not something to learn from everything. But, you know, it's like, then it's time to try to check in and be like, hey, what is it that I really want? And see how you can go from there. So.
Exactly, and I kind of see like you know, obviously because I go to shows, I make appearances and stuff for Super Cool Radio, but I don't mind doing that. You know, sometimes it gets boring traveling and all that stuff, but if I feel like I'm dragging to make content, then I gotta take it because like that's kind of the internal fun part that I like to do. And if I'm not feeling it, then I don't push myself to do it.
Exactly. And you notice it, you know, in the beginning, if you're feeling it, it's one thing, but when you realize it's a consistent thing, you're like, okay, time to reassess.
Yeah, exactly. Got to take a break and just, because then you come back better. To me, if you're just pushing along, then you're not caring as much. You're just kind of throwing it out there to say, all right, I'm done. I'll go do something else. And instead of like actually, you know, putting the proper effort into something.
Exactly. And you keep your authenticity by that too. And that's the other thing too. I think people need, you know, people want to see people be like, hey, like I'm at my best when X, Y, Z. You're honoring yourself, and by you honoring yourself, it inspires somebody else, and it just ripples out in like the best way. So.
Oh, definitely, and people really pick up on that. If you're like the dances on TikTok, I've noticed a lot is like, geez, this looks very fake, and like, you know, it doesn't look very genuine and fun. So I don't, you know, obviously pay attention to that kind of stuff. But like when you do something that's actually authentic, people really do notice and pick up on it.
I agree. And that's the stuff that, yeah, that's true. And then that's how you see all these people come to be. I think that, you know, the ones that really just give their all. Yeah, I know what you mean. I personally am not about the dances, so I'm just not going to do it. It's okay.
Exactly. I was talking to someone about social media and stuff, and you know, he's talking about the different content you can make and stuff. He's like, if you want to do dance on TikTok, you can, but I don't recommend it. I'm like, well, I can't dance, so that's okay.
That's fine by me. There's so many things that you can do. And honestly, there are people who just dance badly, and that's perfect because they're still honoring themselves. They're like, exactly. I want to dance, but I can't do it. It's okay.
Yeah, my point is like, if you want to do something, go for it and do it. Now, if you're doing stuff that come off as fake, because unfortunately on social media, it's fairly easy to fake stuff and make it look like that's actually you, and it's really not. So if you want to do something genuine, go for it. I'm all for art and creativity and stuff.
Agreed.
But we're talking about art and creativity. I gotta talk about Dark Matter, your EP that was released in November. How was it writing and recording the tracks for the EP?
That was interesting because all of that took place during quarantine. So that was that. I mean, and it was, which is interesting. And I didn't, you know, when I titled this, you know, it was something that I had an idea beforehand, and it's part of something bigger, but it really did turn out to be this like dark time that kind of illuminated everything else, which is ironic. I find with this EP and these tracks that there's so many levels to it in my life that I'm like, oh, interesting. I'm like subconsciously like connecting with myself through this. Cool. It was kind of hard though, you know, because we all had to pivot, you know, what's the new ways of doing things. And, you know, tracks before had all been done in person and flushed out in person. And what I liked more about this is it kind of pushed me to go more into like, you know, not letting so much of it be edited in a sense, like having it be just letting myself kind of flow. And really by the time that it got to everybody else, there was not much to be done, just kind of fill in a blank here. And then just when we recorded them rapid fire. And it was just kind of like a flow, which is so cool to think about now. Cause we had to do it within a time span because everyone had to get tested and you couldn't see anyone in between. We took all the precautions, it was nice to, at least by the time that we got everything recorded, to have some sort of procedures in place, some sort of options. We made it work. Did the same thing for the music video, which everyone did incredible. We like banged it out in a couple of hours. It was this whole thing. Looking back now, I'm like, you know, and like things are still going on in the world, but there's so many more options and, you know, everyone's kind of used to everything now. But looking at how all of it played out to like this moment, I'm just like, I don't even know how we did it. So I remember like the day it came out, I was like, oh, finally, like just it got done. It's like real. Because there comes a point where like you're waiting for everything to come out, and I'm like, what if it just like didn't show up? Like, what if it doesn't work? Like, like especially the first time I released a song. That was like my biggest panic, and I'm like, Merlin, calm down. Just
that is so relatable. Like when I released my stuff, I accidentally scheduled it for a wrong day. I said it was one day, and then I accidentally scheduled it for a wrong day. So like that is super relatable with the stuff, like with releasing music and podcasts and all that stuff. Like that's a genuine fear. I'm first person to actually say that, but like when I'm talking in an interview, but totally relate to that.
Thank you, because I feel like no one's ever said that to me before, and I'm like, but it's like what if you just? That's why I triple check all my like stuff. I'm like, no, like everything's fine, right?
Oh no, I totally feel you on that. But yeah, the whole stuff, especially like last year, everything was kind of touch and go with stuff, and no one really figured out everything with pandemic and everything, like the steps you should take. Now I think as the year wrapped up and into this year, people got a better understanding of it. There's better, procedures in place. But like end of 2020, early 2021, it was not much like, for like, hey, what should we do? How should we do this? So to actually like get through, record everything, make a music video during that time is very, very impressive. And honestly, I really love listening to it. So I very much enjoy it.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. I just, knowing what happened behind the scenes and what it took to get everything out, like I wholeheartedly appreciate that. I know the whole team does. Yeah, I mean, it was nerve wracking, and it's funny because we went above and beyond on things now that like people just they're like, oh, it's okay. And granted, things have changed, but still, yeah, I don't know how we got to this point, but I am so grateful.
Well, when I noticed with your music, like I don't listen to a whole lot of pop. I mostly, like rock, metal, and punk music is what I listen to. But what I noticed with yours, it has like a groove to it. It's actually like it's got a vibe and a groove, and it keeps your attention like when you're really listening to it. Because there's some pop music that all kind of sounds the same. You've thrown a lot of different stuff with throughout your music.
It's basically an amalgamation of everything that I am. I've tried to keep in, the Albanian culture, but also like not making it too, you know what I mean? I wouldn't want it to be like, not that I don't want to make an Albanian song or make strictly Albanian music, but that's a very specific type of song. And it was kind of like spicing everything in there and just kind of taking everything that I loved. And growing up, I feel like I've had a phase for every type of music. Like I told you about the country thing, and then we went on to like my screamo phase. Then we went to hip hop. Yeah, it's like I've been all over the place. And it was like good like house music. I don't now you should see my playlist. No one wants to play it like on their car because they're just like, Merlin, I don't know what's gonna happen next. Like you'll be listening to like the sad song and then it'll just hear like screamo, and it's just like but I try to pepper it in, and some tracks like lean more in one way and lean more in the other, and maybe it's evident in others more than but I'm glad it's noticeable.
It's a great blend of like different styles to obviously make the music your own and have your own spin on it, and that's what I really enjoyed, because like they're all kind of different. Like all three songs they're all kind of different, but they also have like your kind of signature to it.
Thank you. I'm glad. I think that's one of the hardest things. Like, it's like really kind of trying to find your sound. And of course, like, it still evolves with time. But I think that's one of the things that I was most nervous about. I mean, you don't want to sound like anybody else, but you're also like, who do I sound like? It's an experimental phase. So, I'm glad there's some cohesion there.
Yeah. And it's so hard nowadays, especially like as the years go on, to not sound sort of similar to somebody, or like honestly there's some bands who just sound blatantly like other bands, but it's so hard because there's so much music, like just going back years and decades, that it's hard not to either incorporate other elements from different people or to kind of sound similar to others.
That's so true. And a lot of it is based off like what your tone is, and all that stuff, and then it's just we're so influenced in general, and so, our whole lives we've had like all this social media. So maybe if somebody has, kind of lived under a rock and never listened to anything else and then created music, maybe we could say it's completely original. But that's so true. I mean, we are all made up of all the influences that we had most important to us. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, exactly. I even for other stuff like outside of music, like I'm inspired by different like filmmakers and other podcasters, YouTubers. So it's all cool, just kind of the influences you take, and the stuff is like, to me, it's not really taking for somebody. If you put your own spin on it, be like, okay, this is what this person did, but I can do this, and this will fit better with my own style. Like you can get ideas from different people, and that's what I love about it, is because you never really know when like inspiration or ideas were going to come from.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. No, exactly. And the other thing is like something that, somebody else does, it might give you the idea, but it doesn't, maybe it doesn't really work for them. And then that was kind of like the whole purpose of that, but they inspired people, which is so cool. Yeah. And that's actually with the thing with my music, like a lot of my favorite songs that I've come out with, like I'll be driving and I'll just hear it in my head. Like dead silence, and I'll just hear it, and I'm like, where did that come from?
That's always cool experiences where you're not even doing anything related, and then you get an idea in your head, for like music or lyrics or anything, and you're like, you know what, I gotta save this, I gotta write this down, I have to, somehow, remember this, and then, obviously apply to what you're working on, especially like if you're like stuck on something, you walk away, you take a break, and then boom, it hits you like, oh, okay, these are all the ideas. This is what I was looking for. This is what I got to do.
Exactly. And that's a tough point too, especially when you're like, okay, like I really want to flush this out. You're trying to focus, but sometimes like you said before, like you can't force it. But then the moment you kind of release that expectation from yourself, you walk away, you're doing something else, everything kind of clicks into place, which is so cool.
For sure. And I'm curious for you. So like, what is your writing process? Like, how do you build a song? Do you start with the music, lyrics? What do you do?
So, I have a practice where I try to write every day. I try to do it first thing in the morning, before whatever happens through the day influences me. And I kind of do like a free write practice. And, there are moments that actually there was an original hook for IOU that later transformed into what it is now. But, if it wasn't for that, it wouldn't have inspired, the rest of it. So things usually come out like that. But honestly, just doing that practice, I feel like gets my mind going, because then I'll go on to my day. I'll be walking, cleaning something, just like doing something. And then the rest of it will kind of pop into place. But I've saved a lot of, like recordings on my phone. I have like over 500 recordings on my phone, and I try to like go through and like the delete little blurbs and stuff like that I'm like, okay, I turned this into this, so I don't need this anymore. And still I end up with like hundreds of voice notes. It's the best way for me to do it, because like you want to catch the song, the melody and everything. So you're like, okay, I gotta get this right now before I lose it. So for me, I think it's like a mix, because I can go through there, pick my favorites, and then sometimes they'll correspond. Sometimes, if I try to put two, pieces together that don't mix, and then I'll flush out the rest of the songs. It's kind of all over the place. It's a little bit like me, eclectic.
No, I'm just always curious, like when I talk to people who write the songwriters and musicians and stuff, but kind of just like where they start. And it's kind of cool with you kind of just start wherever with stuff and whatever you're feeling, which I think that's awesome. It's pure creativity. But this is something that happens to me. I don't know if this happens to you. Like if you're thinking of something throughout the day and you don't get it, so you go to bed and then you wake up at like 3 or 4 in the morning and they're like, okay, here's like, I finally got my idea. This is what I want. What I've been doing is like, I'll write it in my phone. I'll make a note for myself. It's like, this is the ideas I have. Do you have any similar experiences when that happened to you?
Yes, but it doesn't always work out the way that I want it to, because when you like wake up and you're not fully awake, and like in my head, I'm writing, I'm like, this makes total sense. And in the morning, I'm like, there's definitely some words missing here, because this is not a complete thought. But I have gotten some incredible ideas and saved some incredible, like just inspirations from that. But I do find that like, if I ask myself a question, or if I'm needing like kind of like work something in the background of my head, the answer does come eventually, whether it's, later on in the day when I'm not paying attention, or, a couple days, or in the middle of the night. I usually find at least within a week, I get mine. And then if otherwise, like, I'll realize that I kind of just need to let go of that idea, and then something completely new kind of falls together. So that's just kind of getting out of my own way.
That's a good point, though. Like, so when, because sometimes you're trying to make something work, and then you realize, this is not the best idea, but this could inspire something else. I think that you kind of have to know, like, where to pursue an idea and where to go. This isn't really what I'm feeling or what I want. So that's an interesting, kind of decision to make.
Exactly. And I mean, that's the thing with, if you think about all the, artists when they record in the studio, I mean, they're writing and recording maybe like 60 tracks, 80 tracks, something like that, and like picking their best ones. And basically it's the same process, they maybe have more time to flush it out, more people to write with them. So, kind of get full songs and work from there. But it's the same thing for me. And if something doesn't flow and I can't make something fit, with that being said, I really try not to kind of delete, or, you just never know. I mean, there are definitely some ideas that are just not full. I'm like that there's definitely a better way for that. But, for big chunks of things, like, just because I don't find somewhere for something to fit in the moment doesn't mean it can't inspire something else down the line. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, I always save my ideas, no matter if I can work with them or not, because you never know later on, you're even years later, like, oh, you know what, this would be perfect for, what I'm doing now. It's so interesting. That's why I like never throw out any of your ideas, because you never know when you might need them.
I agree. Do you remember how I said that when I was younger, I used to write? I made the mistake of my teenage drama years of like getting all pissed off one day and just like ripped up my notebooks. And now literally it's something that I think about all the time. I'm like, I wish I had those notebooks, not because I'm trying to write tracks off 9-year-old me, but just to like see how my mind was working, and see, just kind of see that progression. So if anybody out there, don't rip up your work.
Exactly. It's just funny to see like the evolution of yourself, like, from when you're writing, from your 9 years old to your teenager to your currently. It's so cool, because people evolve with this stuff. You don't think, exactly the same when you were a kid, obviously. So it's just cool to see like just how your mind progresses.
Exactly. Yeah, it's always going to be in the back of my, but I gotta let it go. You can't come back now.
Yes, fortunately, I have to, but it's always good. So never throw out ideas. Learn from Merlin. Don't throw out ideas. All right, so we've come to the part of the show that is the game here at Cool Radio, and you've picked Hall of Famer or not. Now, no pressure. My last guest, they got 100% on this, so no pressure.
No pressure, right? Yeah. No pressure.
I will list either 10 musicians or solo acts, and you have to tell me if they're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or not.
Let's rock and roll.
Let's do it. All right, so the first one is Chuck Berry.
Yes.
You're right.
Whee!
Off to a good start. 100% so far. All right, the second one is Rage Against the Machine.
No.
You're right.
Oh, yay.
They've been nominated like 3 times, but they're not in.
That's what I figured, yeah.
All right, I hope, see if you're familiar with this band. I hope you are. It is Iggy and the Stooges.
I want to say yes.
Is there a final answer?
Oh, I don't know. I hate when people do that. 'Cause I'm like, is it a trick? Is it a hint? I don't know. I'm just going to go with my instinct. Yeah.
Well, you're right.
Oh, thank God.
Currently,
oh my God, my heart.
batting 100% right now. Oh, I gotta take a swig. This is not alcohol, people. This is orange soda. So just in case YouTube gets confused. I don't drink alcohol, so it's always soda. All right, 9 Inch Nails.
No.
Not correct. No, they actually are.
Okay. Okay.
I was surprised. And I wouldn't necessarily,
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
They had to get in because it's 25 years after you release an album, so they had to get in like very recently because their first time I think was in '94 or something like that. So they had to get in like first ballot, which kind of surprised me.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking the same thing. It's like they're more recent, but hey, I'm not doing bad.
No, you're doing 3 or 4. That's pretty good. All right, so the MC5.
Yes.
No, they're not in the Hall of Fame. They should be.
No. Okay.
One of the most legendary punk bands ever. They should be, but
yeah. Oh well.
All right, we're gonna turn this around. So Judas Priest.
I don't know anymore. I'm doubting my own instincts. I'm just gonna say no.
You're correct.
Whee!
They should be though. They talk
No, a lot of these
metal band.
A lot of these bands are incredible. I just
I know. Well,
I should know this though.
I didn't know. Honestly, if I wasn't doing research on this for a bit, I probably wouldn't know like half of these. Our Radiohead.
Oh. Yes?
You're right.
Oh my God. I was going to say, I would be deeply upset if they were. Love Radiohead. Okay. Woo.
All right, Billy Joel.
Yes?
You're right.
Okay. I was like, that's another one.
On a roll. All right, we got two remaining. We got Motorhead.
I want to say no, but they're so good.
Yeah, they are good, and they should be. And you are correct.
Unfortunately for this one.
Especially when Lemmy passed away, like that should have been already in the Hall of Fame anyway.
Yeah.
All right, last one. Iron Maiden.
Oh, I really don't know. I'm going to say no. I really don't know.
Well, you are correct. You do know.
Oh, okay. I guess somewhere I do know.
80%. Hey, that's good. I will.
That's not too bad. That's not too bad. I honestly didn't think I would get 80%, so I think I'm just going to pat myself on the back for that one.
Well, congratulations. They're all the points are made up, and it really doesn't matter, but you did good.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And you even tried to trip me up, so I'm glad I went with my instinct.
That's right. Well, I have to be that game show host to go, are you sure about that?
Do you want to use your call?
That would be funny. I don't know how that would work, but that would be funny. Get like
that would be funny.
Those lifelines. Like, yeah, I did think about that. I'd be like, I'll do charades to see if you can get the answer, but I don't know how I would do charades for a band. I don't know how to even come up with that.
That's so true, because there would be so much, like you'd really have, they would have to know it so you can get all the references that you could possibly use. But with a good group of friends, you definitely could.
I think in person would help a lot, because like digitally it's hard to convey stuff, through charades. I think that would be kind of tough.
That's true.
All right, well, that segment is done. And as we're wrapping up this interview, so what are your plans for this year, 2022?
Well, 2022, I don't know if you've been feeling it, but I feel like it started off with a bang. I'm releasing some new music coming up soon. So working on some stuff now, got some stuff in the works. And then I've been writing, I've just wrote a lot the rest of 2021, and I'm still writing. So I've got some tracks that I'm narrowing down for some other project that's also coming, but also just, any live show that we can get into, we'll see, just how the situation's constantly changing. But, I'm hoping that summertime will be good. So do some festivals, more live shows, and then end off just kind of do that all the way through 2022 and just kick ass this year, honestly.
Yeah, I love it. I do feel like, to me, 2022, I know we're like a couple days into February, but it already feels like it's been longer than what it was or what it actually is.
Agreed. And I feel like the first couple of weeks were like recovery from the holidays. It's like everyone needed a holiday from the holiday.
Yeah, definitely, because like I know 2020 people didn't really do too much, so like then people went overboard for like the 2021 holidays because like get together and do stuff. So I feel you on that.
That's okay. Maybe 2023 we'll like balance it out for then, and then we'll be good.
Definitely, but yeah, it's already been a year so far, at least for me and probably for you as well. So we're just have to see where it goes. I hope the universe calms down a little bit, and
a little bit.
Or we'll just ramp it up and we get like an alien invasion or whatever.
Oh my god. Honestly, after 2020, I don't know if much would surprise us anymore. I think we start taking TikToks with it.
Yes. Well, I feel like the aliens will like show up at Earth and they're like, "What is this TikTok stuff?" And they'll look at it and go, "You know what? We're just gonna keep flying."
Just gonna beam right back up. See you later.
We'll find another universe. It's okay.
Like, I just saw all that play out. There'll probably be a movie about that soon.
There probably is. You know what? That's my idea. If anyone steals that, then
copyrighted right here and now.
Exactly.
I love it, Matt. This has been incredible.
It's been fun. I try to have fun interviews because what's the point of having a boring one?
That's very true. That's very true. No, great vibe, and I hope that you don't have to go back outside today. Stay inside if you can.
I might have to. We'll see. I mean, I did dust my car off yesterday, so that was my exercise for today. But we'll see. I might have to leave my house. I'm gonna try not to. I got hot chocolate, a space heater, and blankets, so I might not.
That sounds lovely. No, and it's always better when you've dusted the car off ahead of time. It's worse the next day when it's all iced over and you're just like sitting there trying to scrape it. Clearly some ice trauma over here.
I think people can tell we live in like the Midwest and Northeast because we relate very well to the ice and snow, and like you got to do it now or you're not going to be able to do it later.
Exactly. And then make sure you have your bucket or your grill so you can save your spot.
That's right. Make sure I got to take the grill out. Give me a sec. I got to save my parking spot.
Oh God, that's too funny.
All right. As I'm closing out this interview, if anyone's interested, where can they find you online?
I'm on all the socials. I have a website. This is Merlin, and on all the socials, this is Merlin 13, and you can find me hanging on IG and on TikTok.
I'll drop some links for that. Your website should have been "This is Merlin" and then parentheses my actual name.
I wonder if I could figure that out. Maybe I'll just have it pop up on the website first thing, like my actual name. All right, now let's get to the point.
I'm for that idea, maybe because I just came up with it.
There you go, and I'll leave credit where credit is due.
Merlin, thank you so much for hanging out with me here at Super Cool Radio. Had an absolute fun time chatting with you, playing Hall of Fame or not, all of that great stuff. So please check out Stream Sport, give a like to Merlin, check out Dark Matter, and make sure to check out all the great stuff she's got in the works for 2022 as well.
Thank you so much, Matt. This has been an absolute pleasure. I don't think I stopped laughing the entire time.
Hey, that's what I'm here for. I am here to provide smiles, laughs, and fun.
Well, you're doing a great job at it.
Then my job is complete. For Merlin, I am Matthew Thomas from Super Cool Radio. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Stay frosty.